They might be self-aware.
Broadcasting live from the mad carnival of modern life, you are listening to They Might Be Self-Aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined by...
the one, the only, the Daniel Bishop.
Woo! Yeah! Yeah! Woo! It's Daniel Bishop, folks!
Oh, wow.
Woo!
I feel pumped.
I think that's what you're supposed to do in these things. Yeah. How's it going, man?
Oh, man. I feel great. I feel energized. I feel pumped up. I feel like $1,000,000.
We're not playing the Rocky music again. That did not end well the last time. Instant copyright strike. So you're going to have to just play it in your head, folks. Imagine Rocky theme going, Daniel celebrating. We hit 100 episodes. That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
100 episodes. That is crazy. I think you said somewhere that like some huge percentage of podcasts don't even make it to 50.
Almost all. We're in the top echelon now.
We did it. We are in the elite of the elite of podcasts.
You listeners are so blessed to be able to listen to Hunter and Daniel ramble.
I don't know about blessed.
I'm going with blessed.
All right. Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed. Anything new in your neck of the woods?
No. As I'd mentioned on a couple episodes ago, I moved recently. I still have moved. I still have a bunch of boxes to unpack, and my office is kind of coming together. I mean, like, there's some personal stuff for everybody. The really juicy stuff with Daniel. I've been unpacking my office.
Yeah, you've been in a virtual office here the last couple episodes. I think at some point there'll be the big reveal of the new office.
Oh no! I mean, this is for those of you watching. That blank wall is the real thing.
They're not seeing a blank wall.
What? Hunter, what have you done? Yeah.
Well,
I did actually see what you've done, and we're going to have some words after this recording, sir.
I think what we should do is just have a new startup that generates code, because apparently that's all the rage these days. We did a few episodes just talking about all the different tools that we're using, and apparently the market's listened, and all the companies that Hunter and Daniel work with are now worth billions and billions of dollars. We drop that hint in case anybody wants to advertise. It's the fastest path to that 7-figure valuation.
Yep. If you want to sell out for $1 billion, just make sure that we talk about you on our podcast.
That's the trick. But So I guess what are the big ones? Windsurf, which was acquired by OpenAI. Was it over
Cursor?
$6 billion? Cursor has a monstrous valuation.
Insane.
That's the primary tool that I use. And then every big player is getting into the space, from Anthropic to OpenAI. Well, OpenAI has their own tool, plus they purchased Windsurf. Google has their own tool now, their own agent.
We have the OG, which is Copilot.
Oh, yeah, GitHub Copilot.
Yeah, GitHub Copilot is still there.
I'm still paying for it. I started paying for it in the beta. I've not gotten around. I want to go back and check it out, see if it's actually, did they ever, I know that it has an agentic mode now.
Yeah,
I know
it's kind of like Klein, just not as good.
Yeah.
Maybe you can use your more expensive OpenAI subscription to cancel GitHub Copilot for you. Then you have like AIs killing off other AIs. Is that's the real AI war there, is which of them is going to figure out how to delete all the others that you only have it to work with.
Maybe. In trying to think about these valuations, I think it's probably twofold of why these AI companies are getting the biggest dollars thrown at them. And it's one, that it's a legitimate use of, like, it's a real use of AI. It's not fake. It's real, and there's real revenue. Millions of people are paying a lot of money to use these models, and there's a real business model here for this use case. Mm-hmm. Engineers will pay a lot of money for these tools to help them write their code. Part one. And part two, I think, is that there's a reasonable argument to be made that this is going to be the first large-scale replacement of workforce is going to come from automating away coders.
That's what a lot of people think, and when it comes to like, is this a legitimate use case? Yes, absolutely agree with you on that. There's a lot to be earned and learned in this sort of space. I'm going to hold off on the replacing coders thing. We've talked about that plenty. I think there's still a lot more to be said there, but rather like, is this the space that we should be considering as pouring all of the money into? Well, the United States is kind of an information economy. We make stuff like physically too, of course, but I've heard information economy enough times to believe that a lot of our output is intellectual property and like code, your software as a services and things of its ilk.
Yes.
If we take that at its face value, then that means that anything that can help the information technology sector grow, code being one of the ways to do that, that's extremely literally worth it. Okay, great. Then that becomes at a macroeconomic scale worth investing in.
Do you have a gong there? Did I just hear a gong go bong?
No, that was me knocking my elbow into my desk.
Oh, it sounded like a gong. Maybe we need a gong for the show. Bong. Put that on your list for office accessories.
We can rebrand as The Gong Show. I don't think that one's been taken.
No,
right?
It hasn't.
No. Okay, good. Right. So if we're going to, as a society, say more code, more information technology related jobs and products and so on, sell that across the world, this drives a portion of our economy, hip, hip, hooray, then yes, it's worth investing in. And then I guess back to the question of, are we going to replace coders? These things keep getting better and better, allegedly. And I do kind of say allegedly, and I know that I mentioned this some episodes ago, where each new improvement is getting less better to the point where it's starting to not matter as much. Like,
I'm trying to unpack that statement. It gets
the difference
less better.
GPT 3.5 was astonishing. GPT 4 really blew people's socks off. 4.5 and then 1 and the O's and the minis and so on along the way. And then look at, Claude 2, 2.5, 3, 3.7, 4 now. 4 is a great way to get the same results as GPT 3.7, but to cost about 10 times as much, in my mind. I've used it some, and I'm not regretting the $1.50 per single prompt that I gave it.
Clarification, when you say 4, you're referring to Claude 4 or
Claude 4 in that case.
Okay,
yeah.
and then versus Claude
it's expensive to use over
3.7
or over API. And right, Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and then 4
Opus. Because Opus is expensive.
The bestest, biggest model that Anthropic has, and then Claude 3.7, my daily driver for months now. I can get basically the same. Like, maybe there's a couple less bugs. Maybe I have to do a little bit less iteration back and forth. But so much of this is what a software developer does. You need to be aware of the product context. You need to have the documentation in front of you. You need to be looking through the output from the bug that popped up or whatever. And like, yes, there are becoming more tools that can make this more and more automatable. But still, one little assumption wrong at the beginning can snowball into a series of, I saw somebody making fun of Claude for Opus the other day. It was like, I saw this prompt, I put it in, and Claude for Opus completely reorganized my code. It was beautiful. None of it worked, but it was beautiful. And that's kind of my experience with not just Claude for Opus, but the OpenAI models with Mistral, with whoever, is that you never get what you want. You can get most of it, and it can be elegant. And maybe you do use the Opus model to do the high level architect, and then you use one of the cheaper models to do the actual like driving of the individual files or whatever. But you don't ever get what you actually want out of it. Nor would you get that, frankly, out of a regular software engineer, almost ever. You always have this iterative process, and you need people in the loop. You need the feedback loop that one LLM just thinking about it won't ever get you.
Well, this is the most interesting part of the evolution of AI, that as it gets better and it gets smarter, it becomes harder to control. And I think that is
I know
only
it's
going to
on some
accelerate.
people, right? Har, har, har.
It's only going to accelerate because it's becoming a smarter and smarter human. And as it becomes a smarter and smarter human, it inevitably has more autonomy to listen to you or to not listen to you, to decide whether your idea is any good. I'm just going to do what I want to do. There are no consequences. It hasn't really grown up at all. The idea that it's this brilliant kindergartner that keeps getting smarter and smarter and smarter.
Right. And along those lines, there is this sort of yes man sycophantic sort of nature. Of course, it was way overtuned for GPT-4, whatever version of it, the Chat GPT.
I still use that version, by the way.
Yeah, right.
I haven't moved on.
Tell me how great I am. And that's what you get for paying for the expensive.
No. You look nice today.
So that exists, I think, a little bit across all of the models, where it is designed to help. And in fact, most of the system prompts for these, the bit that you give it before the actual conversation, for many of them starts with a variant of, you are a helpful AI assistant. Like, okay, great. I've been primed with the information that I'm here to help. In most of my messages now, or if I have like a set of rules that I can put in Client where it just automatically places it at the top of my messages, it's, I might be making wrong assumptions. I have years of experience, but even I'll screw up sometimes. I need you to point out something that I'm not considering, or if I'm making the wrong assumption, or if I'm going down the wrong path. Don't just agree with me. Like, I'm being really explicit to these things. I don't want a yes man. I want someone who is going to tell me when I'm about to screw up. And honestly, that has helped a lot, because if that mention of like the snowflake causing the avalanche of one little wrong thing can absolutely lead you down the wrong path over time. The opposite of that is also true. If you tell it, don't just go running off to the races and do everything, stop all the time and ask and like question your assumptions, have me question your assumptions, making this a way more like pair programming back and forth kind of conversation, hugely helpful. Which brings me back to my point of, okay, if anyone can vibe code with AI tools, would that be putting programmers out of a job? And my answer still is not just no, it's very no. My own sister is trying to like launch a site. She's been using AI, dare I say, vibe coding. When she first started, had no idea.
Does she know she's vibe coding?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
I don't think my sister would have any idea what that meant.
Wasn't aware of like VS Code, hadn't really done any of this. And the number of messages that she sent me of like, I can absolutely see why a back-end engineer is paid what they get. This absolutely sucks and is hell. And that's even with the really helpful AI tool trying to do it basically for her. I keep finding day in and day out of, this is such a useful tool and it has sped me up so much and I can accomplish so much more with it. And I wouldn't have been able to do as much as I'm doing if not for the knowledge I already have and the wisdom that I have as someone who's been doing this for years. You can accomplish a lot with it, but just like, and I've mentioned, I made a website mostly using like Client and stuff, and I'm terrified to tell anyone about it because I'm sure it is riddled with a bunch of weird security issues that I just, as a non-front end or back end engineer, am not familiar with having to deal with. And so I don't even know what to prompt it about or to ask, or, hey, here are the kinds of things that we should be aware of. Like, without having that sort of background, it will do its best. And oftentimes it'll say, let's make sure to make this secure in this way. But like, it's not the same as working with someone who actually knows what they're doing.
So when I write code today, the vast majority of the time, I am doing something close to vibe coding where I am describing a small chunk of code that I wanted to write. No big features, no like plan out this giant architecture, that stuff. And that's probably the real vibe coding. But I'll often say, I'm trying to think of something that everyone would be able to understand. I need a tiny little program that will take as an input a latitude and longitude, and it will output a postal code. And so I need a function to do that. And here's what my input's going to look like. And here's what I would like the output to look like. And I would like you to use, Google has an API that can do this. Please use that. And so I would probably write that, and I might dictate it. and then I'll have it write that small chunk. That's not a very big chunk of code. And then I'll look at it. But I very rarely will actually just like write it out. I'll let it do the first draft of a small piece of code, and then I polish it a little bit, and then I go on to the next one. When you're writing code today, how much of it are you just like, you're not even engaging with the AI at all? I'm just going to sit here and define.
Yeah. I'd say that there's two ways. One is exactly what you described of, here are system requirements, here's acceptance criteria, here's documentation, here's all of the information that I would have used to start working on this, and then maybe some pseudocode and get going. The other way is I'll write a quick and dirty version that's like not even full on proof of concept. It's kind of what is being asked for. And then I'll just put in a bunch of comments of, this is where I'd add this. This needs to be expanded to do whatever. And so it's like a really, really light version that still is code of the thing that I want, and then I'll put that and say, here's where my head's at. And I still frankly give it all of the documentation at that point too.
That's interesting.
Giving it a seed is
you mock it up. I think most people can understand that. You kind of mock it up.
Right.
And then you pass the mock up to the AI to flesh in the details.
Right. And this is me trying to avoid that single snowflake causing the avalanche problem, because I'm already skipping, dare I say, I guess, down the hill, to follow that metaphor a little bit, of you aren't starting from scratch. You're starting from a little bit of something and like, okay, I did this, but I wasn't doing proper type hinting, and I need to do this, and we need to add that in. And well, I was lazy here, so redo that part. But like, to give it more than just the words of the description of the thing that I'm trying to do, something for it to kind of base its work on. That's huge. And you can see that in what you're already doing. If you're not making new code, you're editing old code. Here is this existing piece of architecture. Here's my whole system. Look at these 5 files. This will give you the information that you need to kind of understand what's going on. In this other file, this needs to add one more feature into it. We're passing in latitude and longitude, also time now. Not that that's going to change what the postal code is, but like, imagine, for those of you still remembering the thing Hunter said, like, okay, we have these 2 pieces of information we pass in. Now add in this third one and make sure the thing that calls it and the thing that takes it downstream both are aware of that extra piece of information. And here's how it changed. Like, having all of that, having a working, or frankly, even broken piece of software that you can say, and now change this with this context around it, is way more helpful than just, here's this one file, make this.
I like that idea.
Matters.
I'll drop a new idea that I'm working on related to that. So when I find things where the AI isn't quite there yet, I encourage others to do this as well, develop a benchmark. What's your test? And so in the realm of software development, I have this ticket. And let's just take that example of, I need you to add this feature to be able to take in a latitude and longitude and tell me the zip code. And here are the requirements. And it's captured in a ticket. You test it out. It doesn't work. You put it in a file of things that don't work, so that when new releases come out, new solutions, new models, you can just keep rerunning it. And you'll know when it gets there. And ideally, this would be in an automated way, where there are like the things that the AI can't solve yet, and I can just add it to a list, and it'll come back and tell me because you can develop the test case for it. Like, okay, here's the coordinates. Tell me the zip code. Nope, that's wrong. You're clearly not there yet.
Hunter, yes. You rediscovered test-driven development.
I'm in love for the first time with TDD. I hate TDD. I know people love it, and they always seem like the cool people that love it.
Loves it, right?
No,
nobody really loves it.
It's kind of like the super intense workout person. They're like, I get high for running 15 miles and drinking creatine all day, and they're just and like when you meet that version of the engineer, yes, and TDD.
I've never seen someone like that ever.
Oh, I've met so many of them.
Oh my God.
I can't do it. I can't. I was like, it's a creative expression for me. I want to explore. Yeah. And then I'll find it, and then we'll write some tests at the end to verify that it worked. Yeah.
So,
but not in the world of AI.
No. Test-driven development is, instead of writing code that does a thing, you write a bunch of little functions that take in what was supposed to go into the thing that doesn't exist yet, and then spits out the correct answer. So like, here's 20 examples of latitude, longitude, latitude, longitude, latitude, longitude, non-latitude, correct longitude, banana, 5, whatever. Like, give it real and invalid and so on examples and the correct output, and then write your code to start making those tests pass. Most people, as far as I understand it, write code and then start thinking of the tests after. And so test-driven development is, don't do what I just said. Write the code, write the tests first of, in this case, this should happen. In this case, this should happen. I haven't tried that with AI, vibe coding, large language models yet. I do wonder if that would, be better.
Yes, if you're trying to do large scale,
but like, I don't,
large scale vibe coding, anyway, you need TDD. My point is not so much that. My point is develop benchmarks for things that the AI is failing at today, so that you can quickly rerun it as new things come out to evaluate: is it there yet? Is it there yet? There's whatever. Again, we're in a
people
software.
are doing that with like the word strawberry for a few different models. Like, count the number of R's in the word strawberry.
Yes, but nobody needs to count the number of R's in the word strawberry for their work. So
no,
my thing is
there's the ADER coding. So there's a whole bunch of different benchmarks that a lot of different large language models go up against. And a bunch of these are like real world coding problems these days.
Yeah, I guess. But I'm saying the hell with those benchmarks. What is your job? Do you build financial models? Do you audit receipts? Do you build presentations? Do you write emails? Do you create social media posts? Right. Do you write copy for e-commerce listings? I don't know what your job is, but try to do your job in AI. See how well it does. Assuming that it can't do it for you yet. If it does it for you, don't tell anyone and just leverage it for as long as you can. But if it doesn't, like, develop that test, but have this sort of self-contained test. So when a new release comes out,
put your own test suite together is what you're saying. Everybody should have a test suite of their own job. Can AI do it yet? And as soon as you can automate your own job, don't tell anybody.
This is TDL, test-driven life.
Test-driven life. I love that.
Yes.
I do think also when it comes to anything that you've used AI to code, and like really anyone's code, frankly, you should have tests, because if you're going to have your AI accidentally refactoring your entire code base all the time, which you were talking about a couple episodes ago, you need the tests.
I've refactored 3 times since we started this episode, just to be clear.
You need to have the tests that make sure that, sure, you can be really agile and tear out all the pieces of your engine every now and then, as long as what is supposed to come out of it continues to come out of it.
Now, but you say that the AI isn't yet taking the engineering jobs, but the numbers are coming out, especially those entry-level positions. The number of new hires coming directly from university dropped 25% last year. We've got the final numbers in for 2024, 25% down. Is that just the economy? Is that your argument?
So I saw some unemployment figures, if that's what you're talking about, for CS grads and then for the general public, and it's off by about 0.3%. It's a rounding error. Like, no, I don't think that this is... there might be a temporary dip in a bunch of hiring managers saying, well, we don't need junior employees at all. Just have people jibbity it. I don't think that is... Yeah, I do not think that that's going to be a medium or long-term solution, because you have to have a pipeline of engineers. If you don't hire juniors and you don't give them that knowledge and that ability to work in your work environment, to grow and to become more senior engineers, then you won't have the people who are knowledgeable enough to manage these AI models to do the actual value-driven sort of work. I would agree that many junior employees, not any kind of employee, but especially like in the software engineering industry, a junior fresh out of CS grad is literally worse in, I'd say, nearly all ways than just using like some off the shelf large language models these days, which is a somewhat disheartening thing to hear if you are a recent CS grad. I would also say don't be too disheartened, because any hiring manager and any company that has any idea of what longevity should look like in this industry should realize fine. You aren't as good as that now. Let's make you better than it. You don't have to be a better programmer. I'm not as good a programmer as GPT 4.0 or Claude 4 or this or that, Gemini 2.5.
Skibbity toilet.
Yep. All of these different things are doing certain like coding practices that I had never seen or used before, or like I'd only heard of and I'd never really gotten to myself. I'm no rock star programmer, but it's doing like these really cool programming patterns and stuff. And you don't have to know every algorithm out there to get the job done and to push the bottom line forward for a company. But being able to learn how to be a hybrid team of person plus AI helping drive that value forward, you're going to need juniors and mid-levels and seniors and so on, all working with this technology in the future. You've got to. Otherwise, we're going to run out of engineers at some point soon, and we're not going to have something good enough to replace them.
Engineering is evolving. It's all evolving. I've had a few conversations with new grads looking for employment right now.
There's people who have years and years of experience also looking for jobs. The job industry in tech is really rough right now, so I don't think it's generative AI. I know people in product management, in UI, UX, in marketing, in sales. I know people across the board who are like, I have years of experience and I can't get a friggin' job right now. I think that's just macroeconomic stuff. I don't think that that's ChatGPT.
So I think there is macroeconomic stuff. I think that's the main reason why we're hiring less people right now. I also think that perhaps it is harder right now than it has been in any kind of recent memory to get a job in technology because technology pays well. Like if you're not in it because you love it, you're just in it because like, hey, we all have to work. I get it. We all want a job. Tech pays well. I'm reasonably smart. And so I've learned how to do this stuff, but I don't have that passion. It's harder because the people that do have the passion, the people that are just like loving life right now, the amount that they can do by leveraging all this AI stuff will just blow you out of the water. And that's what, when I'm talking to these recent grads is like, this is the most awesome time ever. Why aren't you building 15 projects every single weekend? Blow the company away. Be like, I saw your product I did 10 new features. I built my own version, open source. Here's how it look. And I did it in a hackathon over the weekend. And it kind of sucks, but also it's directional. It's aspirational. Show them how you can leverage all the new tech. And you can do it like you never could have before. You can stand out today in a way that you could never have done before. And I hope you're enjoying it. And if you hate it, man, maybe look for something else because this is how the industry is changing.
You don't have to be the valedictorian of the class to be able to do what a valedictorian was some years ago.
Exactly.
Anybody, any halfway decent, less than halfway decent.
Yeah.
If you're a C- student, you could still be putting 5 GitHub projects together per week of here's a cool thing I made. Here's a cool thing. Here's a completely working website. Here's this, here's that. And that way, whenever you go to apply to that junior job, you're not just empty resume with a shruggy emoji on it. It's here's this huge set of things I've done. Hey, I've contributed to open source projects. Hey, I've done this. Like the kinds of things that can make you stand out to hiring managers are still available to you, and in fact,
and easier than ever
available than they ever have been before.
Yes.
It's going to become more apparent over time when someone is, dare I use the word, lazy. And I saw this like in each of the last few years that I've done hiring. You can see people who like have a perfectly fine resume and they have all of the skills that you were looking for. And then you see the person who's like, and I'm active in like, I help teach at the local community college for like, disadvantaged kids to like get into programming. And I also have a YouTube channel where I talk about these things. And I have, 30 GitHub projects. And you're like, well, obviously I want the guy who's much more passionate about the industry, who's involved, who's not just going to be like, I will do computer science between the hours of 9 and 5.
Yes.
And that is it. And I'll be doing exactly what has been put in front of me. Thank you very much. And then off I go. Instead, I want the person who comes to me on Monday is like, you want to see 5 cool things that I did? Yeah, I do. Oh, wow. Each of these is a very cool thing. And that I've been very fortunate. 2 or 3 people that I've hired in the past are that person And there's this infectious energy where you start to feel anything is possible. And you know what? Anything is possible these days. If you are a halfway decent software engineer, you should be, if you're a bad software engineer or a great one or anything in between, you should be using these tools to not just do more of your job more faster. You should be making a bunch of cool stuff. If you have some idea, a half-baked idea, make it. Make that website, make that app, make that whatever. Because again, not to like denigrate my sister here. She's not a programmer and she has a working version of this like thing. She's talking to me of like, I'm going to start talking to people about funding or whatever. Even if you're not a software engineer, you could be making some very cool stuff right now. And I think it is increasingly on you, the person who is or isn't doing it, to suffer the consequences of not embracing the technology. And I don't mean like it's just use large language models. It's that because there are these things, it is easier for anybody to make stuff than they used to. To take a very physical analog of this, if you wanted to make some cool hardware for a thing, I wanted to like make a neat vase or whatever. There are free 3D modeling programs out there, and 3D printers are available at like lots of libraries. So make the physical cool thing that you want, or make the little robot. There's robotics kits out there. Like everybody should be making stuff. And if
you need that extra edge, this episode is brought to you by Man Rocks.
Yeah.
I subscribe, Daniel. I'm on the Max plan now. I had 3 rocks before this episode. I don't know if you can tell, but
I'm just waiting to see the slightly blurry background image of you on here where there's just like, it looks like a chunk of basalt. Like, what is that? Why? That's my Man Rock.
Well, you know what doesn't get a C-? This podcast.
Hey, congrats all around and smiley faces on the report card. They might be self-aware.
Wow. Well, folks, we did 100. Maybe we'll do 100 more. Who knows?
Our centennial. Can you believe it?
It's a little insane. I think we're going to be dropping the episode numbers sometime soon. It's on the list of things. There's a long list of things to do, but we're going to continue making it better, man. If you're enjoying this content, I don't know, subscribe, give us a like, leave us a comment, engage, and we will engage back.
Yep.
We'll give you exactly what you want, what you really, really want.
The AI is trained to give you exactly what you want, and we are not an AI.
Maybe. Find us on YouTube, find us on Apple Podcasts, find us on Spotify, subscribe everywhere, and you get so many bonus points. We have a leaderboard. You could be at the top of that leaderboard, and just, I don't know, all of life will start working out for you. And
high score.
That single moment, who doesn't want the high score? All right, until next time, because you have been listening to...
They might be self-aware.